I'd like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting for June 13th. The meeting is called to order at 5:30. Let's rise for the
Wait,
5:45.
5:46.
Oh, yes, excuse me, there's a glare there. At 5:47, thank you. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jan Gaffney,
I'm here.
Michelle Van absent, Dan Van absent, Mary Hember, here. Sally Lamb, here. Allison McFadden-Hazen, here. Marilyn Pomeroy,
Here.
Julie Meredith.
Okay. I'll accept a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
There was a tie there. Jan?
ThenLl second. Either way.
I'll take it.
Okay, so Allison has
Allison moved, I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Call to the public. Any news?
A little bit. We have a few items. Currently, the membership of Friends stands at about 300. I'm looking to grow that, looking for some new ways to kind of follow up on that. We're also looking for a president-elect. We need to fill that position for 2017. So if any of you have any ideas, we would love to hear them. Just contact any of the members of the Friends. Somebody that is willing and able to make a 3-year commitment, because it involves president-elect, president, and past president. You remember we talked about the Battle of the Books. Friends will be purchasing 2 plaques that will be posted permanently in the library. And one will be for middle school, and one, I think, is that right, in high school. And so they'll be elementary. So they'll be in the children's area and the teen area.
Oh, good.
And so we should look forward to that in the next month or 2, hopefully. And next Thursday is the 8th annual Teen Art Show. That's for grades 6 through 12. It will be held here in the library. Volunteers are important for that event too, as for everything. It is from 5:30 to 8 with voting from 5:30 to 7. So if you can stop by, great opportunity to support the young people and to make the connection between, once again, school, community, and library. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's always good to know that. No further call from the public. That section is now closed. We have a relatively long consent agenda. I'll accept the motion to approve.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as approved. Does anyone wish to remove any particular item? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, now, library statistics. Colorful.
So for your library statistics, I would have you look at page 3, which is the percent change from 2015. We do have a couple of things of note for May. Total visitors is down, which we believe is because we were closed extra because of the parking lot.
And it's harder to access.
It is harder to access when
When
you,
we're open.
Yep. But total circulations are up. Now, we think there are 2 things at play here. First, we have added auto renewal, which in a way is now accounting for extended circulations that we were not getting, because people who are allowing things to go automatically renewed, not everybody's returning them right away. Before, they would charge them a fine, but we weren't getting credit for that item being out in extra circulation. So there is that, and there was also a huge spike in checkout right before we were going to be closed.
Well, yes.
Because people were concerned that they might go through withdrawal without their library materials. So, so while visiting was down, circulation was up. And of course, information questions were down as well because people could not come in and ask the questions that they needed, unfortunately, because we were closed those extra days. However, you'll notice wireless was up. Teen and children's programs were way up. Participation was good with the programs that we were able to execute. And adult programs were up. So the numbers actually look good considering we were closed those extra days. So.
Thank you. And now the library director's report.
Okay, in terms of building and grounds, the concrete and asphalt work for Phase 2 of the parking lot reconstruction project are complete. The reconstruction of the irrigation system is in the works and will be discussed further as a meeting agenda item. Other details to finalize this phase are also underway, including repair of the lawn, the painting of the lines and crosswalk, the replacement of the handicap parking signage, and the replacement of the entrance columns. The garden club is waiting for the completion of the irrigation work before doing any plantings, and later in the season, the retaining wall and the slab outside the meeting room fire door will be completed. At this stage, the work being done does not impede day-to-day library operations, so we are ready for the busy summer season to begin when school lets out later this week. Feedback on this project has been extremely positive, and I would like to thank everyone for their patience during this work, and special thanks to Independence Township and the Oakland County Sheriff Department for providing the electronic signs on Clarkson Road warning visitors about the major construction that was going on in the parking lot. That was hugely helpful. In terms of other project updates, our IT coordinator confirmed that the new library board webpage with the Documents on Demand feature is now live, including access to all the board meeting agendas, packets, and videos in a nice, compact, and easy to access searchable point. And then next item, thanks to a grant provided by the Michigan Collaborative for Library Service, the library is using the Harwood Institute's Community Conversations techniques as part of our strategic planning process. Last month, the library's Harwood team presented at the City Council and is currently working on a date to conduct the community conversation with them. We are also looking into arranging community conversations at the Senior Center and with representatives from a variety of civic organizations. Several conversations will take place throughout the community by the end of the year, so that project is going strong. In terms of finances, we received confirmation from our auditor that our audit has been completed and submitted to the state well before the June 30th deadline. Our IT coordinator is adding an audit tab to our Documents on Demand page. He will update the last 3 years of library audits to this location later this week, and it's 3 years because we've only existed for 3 years. So just thought I better point that out. Next item, we received the first of our 2 state aid payments last month. The amount was $11,550.56. We will receive a second payment in this amount in September. The amount of each check in 2015, last year, was $10,570.46, so this is an increase from last year. In terms of other financial items, I've been working with the library's attorney regarding the contract to finalize the issue of negative cash with the township. The library board president, treasurer, and I reviewed the draft last week. I met with the attorney late last week to discuss changes and received an updated draft this morning. We will review this new version, and if acceptable, we'll send it to the township for their review. Both the township board and library board have approved the contract regarding the retiree health care funding. However, the execution of that contract is subject to the resolution of this negative cash issue. So we're still working on this one in order to finalize that one. In terms of collaboration, in 1994, through an LSTA grant, the library created a website called the Community Information Network, also known as CIN. This is an online clearinghouse of historic information about the Clarkson area, compiled and organized by Susan and Bill Basinger. The library continues to maintain this creation, but as you can imagine, it is past time to update the technological platform that supports this webpage. It's in raw HTML, so it's really time. We have formed a committee to review what is needed and are working with local web company IGD Solutions to develop a plan and a budget to bring this valuable resource into the 21st century. We wanted to have a proposal for tonight's meeting, but some details are still being worked out, so we hope to have it for the board to review at the July meeting. And then last but not least, I'm going to play up the art show as well. The 8th Annual Teen Art Show will be taking place at the library on Thursday, June 23rd from 5:30 to 8. More than 100 pieces of art by local teens will be on display, and the public is invited to enjoy and vote for their favorite works. Teens will be awarded prizes by age category based on the public voting, and this year there will also be 5 special awards presented by a panel of judges based on artistic medium. So don't miss this opportunity to celebrate the creativity and talent of our local teens.
Thank you. Always an excellent presentation. All right, let us now move to regular business. Item number 1 is a review of the year-to-date financial review and budget adjustments.
Okay, so you have before you the report from our accountant. If you look up at the top, it shows the revenues as they come in. We're looking in good shape there. In terms of the actual budget line items, she pointed out a couple that she had some concerns. She was concerned about line item 716, which is health insurance. Oh, I think your pages are backwards.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Line item 716, which is health insurance. She was concerned that it's over budget, but I went in and looked at it, and it's actually not over budget. It's just that we're a month ahead. So this is a year-to-date until May 31st, but we've already paid the June bill. So it looks like we're over budget, but we're not. We're just one payment ahead of the end of the month. So that one's fine. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so 910 is insurance. She was concerned about that. That would be our liability, building insurance, board bond, that sort of thing. That's actually not over budget either. That's a line that we pay that bill in 4 payments, and the whole thing is paid by July, the end of July. So it's not that it's over budget, it's that it isn't paid evenly throughout the year. It's completely due before July 31st. So we're perfectly fine there. That's nothing to be concerned about either. 740.1 operating supplies. There's a couple of things going on in this line item. The first thing going on in this line item is there were a couple of projects that the staff wanted to do that I went ahead and said that they could do, so we need to make a couple of budget adjustments to accommodate those, not large projects, but smaller projects. We also discovered that there was an invoice that should have gone into 740.2 that went into 740.1. So Sharon is making that change. It's going from $1,946.50 from one line to the other, so that will balance that out. I do believe that this line item, we're seeing a lot more people doing printing and those kinds of things, toner cartridges and those kinds of supplies, eat this budget up really quickly. So I'm proposing that we make a $6,500 budget adjustment into operating supplies, 740.1. That money can come from 818, which is our professional contract services line. You'll remember that last year we made a budget adjustment in order to pay the engineer for the parking lot project in advance.
Right.
And so we paid him $6,500 last year that we actually budgeted for this year. So that money won't be needed. The amount that we owe him is $6,500 less than what's actually budgeted. So we could take that money out and move it into that line item without with it still being a wash. So, okay. And then she was concerned about 740.2 technical services. That actually is the budget that our head of technical services manages, and I went and talked to him, and the reason that that looks like it's so far along is that he is doing that DVD recasing project, and he's almost done. So it's not a project that will be done over the course of this year. It's a project that he needed a budget in order to finish it up by the mid-year point. So he felt perfectly comfortable with what was left based on that.
So expenses will not keep going up for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're good there. And then the last one that she was concerned about was 975, which is the building budget. And she was concerned because there were no expenditures. And it's a really big line item, and that's because the parking lot isn't done yet, and that will drain that budget really quickly, probably in 2 big checks. So, so I'm not really concerned about that one. We are good there. But one of the things we do need to talk about in terms of the parking lot project is the irrigation system. We weren't sure what that was going to look like once they dug it all out, and I can give you a report on that as agenda item number 3. But that's, other than that, we're looking like we're in good shape. Just that one budget adjustment is what I recommend tonight.
All right, any questions? We're reading the small print here.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gets me every time.
All right, will someone make a motion to approve the transfer
So moved.
for number 1?
Right, to transfer I move to transfer the 6,500 from line 818 to line item 740.1.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we transfer $6,500 from line item 818, professional contract services, to line item 740.1, which is operating supplies. Any comments, questions? That was clear. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, number 2 is the staffing subcommittee recommendations. And Jan is going
I got that
to
one.
clear that with us as soon as we find that page.
Right after those.
There, got it.
Not too far back. Okay, everybody ready?
Get ready.
Thank you.
In 2012, when the library board was formed, a staffing subcommittee of 3 library board members was created to regularly review and, if needed, recommend updates to the staffing structure and compensation of the library's employees. Based on in-depth research of other Class 5 libraries in Southeast Michigan, the Clarkston Independence District Library lags significantly behind other similar libraries in salary ranges for almost all positions. This puts us at a competitive disadvantage in recruiting and retaining quality staff members. A multi-year plan was developed to make corrective adjustments in salary ranges, to make the CIDL competitive with other Class 5 libraries in this area. The work and recommendations of the staffing subcommittee for this year have been reviewed by the library board at the June 6th budget workshop and the June 13th board meeting. And all of the documentation that we looked at last week is attached behind that. Oh.
Yes, we had an extensive meeting on this last week. In light of that, are there any questions or comments on the staffing review for this year? Okay, if not, I will accept a motion to accept the staffing subcommittee recommendations.
I move to approve the recommendations of the staffing subcommittee as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the staffing subcommittee recommendations for this year be approved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. That was a lot of work.
Yes, it was.
So we appreciate the subcommittee's work in this endeavor. Anyone who wishes to see this information, it is online in our packet. Okay, number 3, the parking lot update.
Okay, the last piece of this project would be the irrigation system. We really couldn't know until they started digging it out what all was going to happen. I think in terms of budgeting, we have enough in the budget to cover most of it. We did not specially put money aside to deal with the irrigation because we just weren't really sure what was going to happen. When they moved the parking lot, or the handicap parking spaces from point A to point B, that meant this whole zone had to be redone. And then when they dug out the road, they ripped out the electrical that runs between. So anyway, and then as they were putting in all the new curbs, we lost a lot of sprinkler heads in that. I think the total project is probably going to be over the $5,000 limit that I can approve. I was hoping to have the numbers tonight. Mark from Nature's Rain has been working really, really hard with his assistant to get it all completed. He's not quite there yet. So what I would propose that I will do is approve the payment in this next check run on Wednesday for all of the equipment that he's purchased so far, because he's obviously funding that for us, and he's a small business owner, so I don't want to leave him hanging too long. But in terms of the labor and anything else beyond that, that would exceed that $5,000 mark, I will come back and make sure that you know about at the July meeting, and that we will have a complete review of the whole thing and make the appropriate budget adjustment. But I'm concerned, because he's a small business owner, and I don't want him to end up not being able to pay his vendors for the equipment and things like that, so. Anybody have any objections to us tackling it in that way?
Sounds
No, that's a
reasonable.
good solution.
Okay. He was going to try and have a list for me, and just before the meeting, I called him, I was like, oh, you got my list? And he said that he got called to an emergency situation, and he was still in Troy, and so he really hadn't had time to work on it, but he said he will have it for me by tomorrow in terms of what would be billed on Wednesday.
Well, they've certainly been working diligently. There was a nice big pool of water the other day, and the sod is now going down.
Yeah, they've been working really, really hard. There were a few changes that happened that he wasn't completely anticipating. Part of the problem is that we have an as-built plan from 1992 when the irrigation system went in, and the problem that he ran into is that it wasn't as accurate as he maybe hoped it was. And so what ended up happening, especially in terms of the island, I don't know if you noticed, but where the ramp goes up through the center of the island, we added a little slope from the road up, and we put in the red grid pattern to make it safe. Well, when you have one of those little ramps, you have to have a big flat space so that a wheelchair can go up and make a complete turn and then continue on up the ramp, and we did not have that flat space. So that piece of concrete became really, really huge, and it moved a whole bunch of the sprinkler heads. And it also altered where some of the pipes were running through and things like that. So he's running into a lot of those issues where small changes to the concrete resulted in large changes
To irrigation.
to his pipe works.
When I left the other day, he was out there, and it's like,
Up to his knees in mud.
In mud,
Yeah.
yes.
Really trying to figure out how to kind of put it all back together. And he could not have anticipated it until he really got into it, and he's been giving 150% as he always does. He said to me today that he feels personally responsible for our location because when he started taking this business over from Kirk, as Kirk was retiring, this was his first. This building was his first project, and he comes in. As he's going to his other jobs, he stops in and he tells me, "Julia, your grass is brown," and he'll go back and reset all the irrigation controls for me, or whatever. So I never have to worry. He's always making sure he takes personal pride in this location. So I know he's treating us well, but.
We want to treat him well in return.
At the same time, I am concerned that this project has been huge for him, and I don't want him to be financially upholding this whole thing, so that's just my personal concern.
Yes.
He didn't seem particularly frantic about it, but I am, because I know he's putting a lot of money and time into this and a lot of energy.
So the upshot is, he's going to work with the budget we already have, and then he will submit the full.
Yep, and you will do a
Bill.
complete review in July, when I know everything, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that I'm going to go ahead and authorize an initial payment so that he can pay for the equipment that he's already invested in, so that he's not having to either leave
Carry
his
that.
vendors waiting or carry that expense for a whole nother month. That just seems unfair to me to make him do that, because he's a small operation.
I think we're all in agreement.
yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's it.
Wow.
I thought this.
For the size of that packet, I would have thought we were having a longer meeting.
Right, I said it took us probably longer to read the packets than it did to actually hold the meeting. So at the moment, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, let's see if I get this one right. It's been moved and seconded that we shall adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the time of adjournment is 6:12.
Perfect.